Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We've got in this cool old Gottlieb wedge head here that we're going to work on. It's called Pro Football. And I didn't even know this existed, but a gentleman called us, said he wanted to sell it. He'd had it a long time, and we purchased it from him. So it's been sitting around for a few months, and we are now ready to work on it. We got a little lineup of some of them over here that we've got fixed up, and this one's next on the list. So this is pretty much how we got it from them. So in this video I'll show you kind of what condition it's in. We'll take it apart, look at what's going on and what it needs, and then we'll fix it. It's as simple as that. Now this thing has been been around the block a couple times, so it's a little rough, but there's nothing major that's, you know, going to keep this from playing well. So I'll show you what I mean. If you look real close down here on the bottom, see that stain all the way down the side, and see like the hole there. There's a couple more, and that goes around. It's also down here, and then it's over here as well. This machine, when we bought it, had this big metal plate on the bottom of it, all the way around it, that somebody had formed. I guess it was like a security thing, just so people couldn't break in underneath it and get in the cash box. It doesn't seem that there's any damage to the bottom where anybody had broken into it, so maybe they just put it in a rough location. But one of the first things we did was we took that off and threw it away, because these Gottliebs, in my opinion, are just really good looking games, even though this one's a football theme, so it's not really as attractive. Maybe you know, I love football, everybody does, but I'm just saying it's not really as pretty as some of them, because it's a damn football game, right? But these Gottliebs really look good. They just have a nice design. The cabinets are a little thinner than most of the other companies. Here you can see right there. That's a, I guess that's a Williams. I haven't even messed with it. It's a Stern. That's a Stern. Next to it, see how the Gottlieb's not quite as deep. It's a little, just has a little more streamlined look. And then it had the cool wedge head back box. And I don't know if all of the wedge heads were one players. There may have been a couple that were two player, but most of them are one player at least, or perhaps all of them are. They call it a wedge head, of course, because it's wedge shaped. But really the only thing that makes it a wedge head is the head is wedge shaped. But it's just a really attractive design. The cabinets really look good. So we had to take that little plate off, throw it in the damn trash, because it's messing up our good looking Gottlieb wedge head. You know, I'm not going to leave a bunch of extra junk bolted on it. But this game, you know, it's been played, folks. It has a damn padlock screwed to the side of it for some reason. It must have been in kind of a rough place. Now, not only is the thing there, but look what's underneath it. See all that wear? That's from a padlock hanging there. I mean, this thing was somewhere getting used for a while, right? So I'm going to, usually I don't show phone numbers and stuff on my videos, because I don't want people calling people, but in this case I will, especially since the place is nowhere near here. So the owners, if they have a bunch of games still, they can't, I can't go over there and buy them. So if y'all want to go do a raid or something, you can do it. But this place this one still has the operator's sticker on it. And it says, "This machine installed under lease by Roy George Music Vending." They are in Painesville, which I will admit I've never heard of. I would suppose it's probably in Ohio. Cleveland. And Ashtabula, which I've never heard of either. Sorry. On this side we've got a hole drilled in it. So this, usually stuff like that is for security reasons. They were putting some kind of hasp on it. or something. But here's what we're starting with. The coin door's a little rusty. We can clean that up a little bit. The paint's a little worn, but I'm probably just going to leave it. When it's the way I try to do it usually is just get it clean. If I can get it where it's pretty clean, I'm leaving it, folks. I'm not going to add all that back in. It's got a little wear and patina, but it'll be okay. So the interesting thing about this machine is it's a football game. It's a football theme. So the designer, you may have not even noticed yet, you're probably noticing it now, didn't put a shooter rod in it because that's not how football's played. They kick the ball off, right? So this game, the start of each ball, the ball kicks out of this out hole onto the playfield, which I think is pretty cool personally. And to make that happen, you can see they put a little divot in the playfield like they do on the shooter lane. So pretty cool. And they needed a special apron for it. I don't know if there's any other games that do that or if this was the sole Gottlieb that actually had that feature, but it is what it is. So you've got double flippers on each side, of course. And then you've got very targets on each side, of course. Got a rollover there in the middle. Looks like you run the ball up the field in a kind of crooked way. You got a couple of rollover outlane switches. There's a switch, 1 point switch, 1 point. Yes, and that says 1 point. It's probably, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, okay, I see. There's a point score set up on the back. I've never played this. I've never even seen one until we got this. You've got a spinner right in the middle. Very cool, with a football on it. I think that was a good idea. And then up here at the top, you've got these. Yeah, I got to look into that. I'm not sure if that's right. You've got a couple rubbers stretched all the way across, which may or may not be right. I don't know. I guess it probably is. But why is some of the artwork covered up? Like, why can't I read what that says? It's a little strange, but we'll look into it. And you've got a couple pop bumpers. So it's an interesting game. Something a little different. Now, is this the best damn pinball machine of all time? Of course not. Of course not. Everybody knows the best pinball machine of all time is the Twilight Zone. This is not the best pinball of all time. But, you know, it's different. Hell, who wouldn't want to try to play this thing? Just play it a little bit, you know? You might play it a couple games. Just see what it's all about. Different experience. A lot of people get caught up in they want every game to be better than the one before it. I don't understand that at all. I would much prefer every game to be different than the one before it. So it's something, you know, a different vibe. And this one's different. There's been a couple similar ones, but I've never seen one where it kicks it out from the middle, and, you know, it's just a different look at it. Now, at the same time, the artwork on the back glass is fantastic. It's in horrible shape, but it's a hell of a scene going on here. So we've got 5 score reels. I guess one of them's probably a dummy reel, so you got 4 score reels and a dummy reel. You've got the ref over here holding up a big billboard that says ball and play, and as you can imagine, it's supposed to light up behind there. The 3 is flaked away where it's always on 3, but we'll see if we can fix that. You've got the title here where it almost looks like the white shouldn't be white, that it's all faded away or something. I would imagine where it says Pro Football, that was probably originally a different color. That's all flaked away and everything. But look at the drawings and the art, just how goofy the expressions are and everything. You've got a couple guys up here. You got the guy over here with the big, I guess the hand is coming from this guy up here. You've got a kicker behind our sticker there. You get a little glimpse of what the fade must be like. Look at that, man, it must have faded all to hell. You get a guy calling a play or something here, right? And then down here you get the guy running with the ball. This guy's right on top of them. I love how sometimes they use shading with a completely weird color like that. Like, look at that. So the guy's face is like a pink color, like a skin tone, but then the shading is done with purple. And then this guy over here, same thing. They have a skin tone. He's got his tongue hanging out, I think that is, which I guess should be red. And then his skin tone, like the shade, is in blue. That's just so cool, man, whoever did that. And then, of course, we've got the cheerleader. What would pinball be without cute girls on the back glass? Down to her shoes. Oh, and that's somebody too who's kind of looking at her, kind of. Interesting. Very well drawn. I wish it wasn't in such bad shape, but that back glass is pretty rough. We'll touch it up a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out. If I can get it where you can't see light bulbs through the all of the flake there is, I will consider it a success. But you've also got this point score window over here, and you've got a ton of wear on the bottom of the head. I don't know how the hell that happened. That's kind of weird. Usually you wouldn't get a bunch of wear there. Let's look at the instructions just for the heck of it. Instructions: 5 balls per play. For amusement only. High score and point score register as indicated. Advancing the football 100 yards scores a touchdown. A touchdown adds 6 on the point score and 6,000 on the high score. Football resets to start position when a touchdown is made. So I guess the start position is probably all the way down here. There's probably no way for them to advance on you, I wouldn't think. Interesting little game. I can't wait to mess with it. So I'll see if I can get the back box, the door off the back, and see if I can get in the front door. I don't have the key, I don't think. We'll see if we can get in it and see what's going on with it. A stroke of good fortune. The keys were hanging in the back of it. So we're in there like swimwear. It's got a big sticker on the back too with some kind of, it says Ohio. See, it looks like it ends with an A again. So maybe that's saying Ashtabula again. I don't know. But let's look in the back. So, it looks very good. Wow. It's very clean looking because somebody kept the door on it. Usually whenever we buy these, it'll end up in an operator's warehouse and they'll set the door off to the side like we just did and then never put it back on. And so over the next 20 years, all this dirt and dust and stuff gets all over everything in it. And whenever we buy them, they're filthy. And that's not the case here. These things look great. But you can see how that since it's a one player, there's not as much stuff. So there's 4 score reels, this little doohickey down here, whatever it is. You got the 2 extra score reels for the point thing, and then you got a few relays, and you've got the credit unit or whatever that Gottlieb called theirs. And that's about it. There isn't too much. So we've got some handwriting here. It says replay and 10,000 points bonus. So basically when you move this little jumper, when you get the high score, you either get a replay or 10,000 point bonus. Or I guess that's probably what the special is. But there probably would have been a piece of paper there and it got lost and somebody was taking care of this thing and wrote back in what the piece of paper said. And then here's another one, 3 and 5 ball adjustment, high score adjustment, point score adjustment, the reset relay. Things are just labeled. So yeah, very nice shape. I wonder if the inside of the base looks this good. I'll open it up and let's see. So inside, yeah, it's fairly clean. Everything looks pretty good. So again, there's not much going on. You got the score motor here with less switches than normal, it looks like. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 relays, it looks like, with a couple not populated because the game didn't have as much going on, I guess. Got a few fuses. I believe this would have been the coin meter is missing here. Another relay there. And then on the bottom of the play field, remember it's got that big sparse area in the middle where there's not much going on. You've got 3 relays down there at the end, some rollover switches and lights, a couple pop bumpers, a spinner. That's all you need under the playfield for a spinner, by the way, 1 switch. 2 vary targets, 4 flippers, and your kick-out coil. Just not much in it, you know, it's pretty sparse. Rubber ring stuck. And then we've got an entire box full of stuff here. Let's see what's in that. So it is a set of white and green 7.5 size 7.5B tennis shoes. And it says J.C. Penney Company, New York, New York. Has $12 on it. Swaco, Division of Millen Industries, Inc. If I was going to guess, the pinball's from like 73 or something. This looks to me like maybe mid 80s, early 80s. That's pretty cool. The lid's all J.C. Penney'd up. Pretty sweet. I bought this from a gentleman. He said he had it in his family. They had it in the family for a long time. What the hell are these? I have no clue what those are. I've never seen that before. So we may have to figure out some of this stuff. There's one. There's another one. I wonder if this has anything to do with the back corner that I thought looked kind of weird. There's yet another. So there's 3 of them. Somebody came by to sell me something. So anyway, I was going to look at this. This to me, oh, that might be the top of a pop bumper. No? I don't know. I don't know, folks. Whole bunch of rubber rings. Every time we buy a game, the same thing happens. People say, I got all the rings for it. I got new rings for it. I mean, they were new 15 years ago. I can't put those on a game. Unfortunately. That ain't gonna work. So all these rings. Uh-oh, what do I see here? This is our 4th one. What in the world are these things? I got to figure this out. I'm gonna feel like a fool. You know what these are? I just figured out what they are. It's the coin chute. So where does it go? Oh, it doesn't even go on this door, or does it? Oh yeah. Okay, here we go. Wonder which one it is. Have they filled it in? There we go. All right. Look at that. Huh? All right. So that's the coin chutes. So basically you drop a quarter in here. 2 of these go right here on this one and 2 go right here. And the quarter rolls down to the end and it falls out the bottom right here. And with the door shut, it falls into the top of your coin mech, which they're missing too, but it goes down through the coin mech and blah, 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 blah. This screams of paranoid operators again. So back when the operators, back in the day, would sell their pinball machines and coin-operated machines, they would take all of the coin-operated stuff out of them so that you couldn't possibly put them out on location and be their competition. So in this one, it looks like they even took the coin meter. I don't know why they would do that, but Whatevs. Perhaps that has something to do with this. Yeah. What is that? I don't know what that is. It almost looks like one of those, like the end of a hamster. Remember those? I don't even know if they still make them, but those hamster cages with the pipes and everything that the hamsters crawl through, and you had a little thing that goes on the end that twists in place. Some old light bulbs, leg bolts, yellow flipper rings. I applaud. I hate how people put red flipper rings on everything. I usually do if it originally had red, but this one probably originally had yellow. We're going to have to go look at the flyer. Some fuses. Nothing special. Here's a nickel. Let's see what the date is on the nickel. 1968. Might be a story behind this nickel. That's interesting. Nothing else useful. Okay. So, I guess the first things we'll do is start cleaning the relays. Maybe we'll see if we can get the thing to work, and then we'll do the cosmetics. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will pull the playfield out so that we can get in there a little bit better. And the way you do that is there are some wires over here that, oh, one's unplugged. That's interesting. Oh, I think I took it apart when I moved it. We'll unplug the playfield, take it out. There's just some big plugs that unplug, and then we'll be able to get in there and clean everything up. So Sonic and I have been hard at work at it. So we cleaned all the switches. Let me show you how we clean them. We have a bunch of files that are like worn out. See the grease and stuff on them? All the dirt. So they don't have hardly any abrasion left. You can also use like a flex stone or something, or like a fingernail file, an emery board. You just don't want to go too crazy with it. If you get something that's too aggressive, what it'll do is it'll scratch up the contacts, and you want to avoid that if you can. You want something that's aggressive enough that it'll clean all the grease and the dirt and the dust and the oxidization off of the points of the switches, but you don't want to actually take any of the meat off of the switches. So basically, on a game like this where there's not all that much going on, you just go around and you clean each switch. If you see one that's obviously way out of adjustment, go ahead and adjust it. But if you see one that it's kind of borderline, leave it alone, because usually these machines will kind of work themselves into a groove where they like how things are. You know, so if you go around and try to adjust every switch, you'll screw up every switch, or you'll screw up a couple. So what we like to do is just don't adjust anything unless you can tell that it's obviously messed up, it's bent, or it's clearly not right. But if it's just a little bit off, we leave it alone. So we went through and we cleaned every switch, and I haven't found, I might have adjusted one or two, you know. So you just slide your little file down through the, or I shouldn't say file because everybody's just going to go grab a big file, but you slide it down through the points, clean the points. You also don't want to clean the points when they're like crooked, because then you're just, you know, you'll end up getting too much on the corner of it, and you might file away part of the corner of it and get it where it's not flat. So when the points meet each other, it should be flat. So we went through and cleaned all of them, all of the relays, took every one of them out and cleaned it. These two up here, we had this little, we can see it better from here. There's this little stepper unit here that's a lot like the match units that they used. So basically there is a little pawl over here that pulls in, and when it does, that little thing spins around. So just like, that's probably the one that advances the ball at the football field, I would imagine. So you got to make sure that's working real clean, and you want that wiper board that the thing runs on to be clean. We put a little bit of synthetic grease on it, and it's working great. And then we went through and we cleaned all of the Jones plugs. So Jones plugs are these things. I know a lot of you know all about this, but for those of you that don't, I get the same like kind of basic questions on a lot of videos, so I kind of try to go over some of this stuff in every video if I can. So this is the Jones plug. The old EM pinballs use these, and they get filthy. So if you look at the inside of the plugs, like the part of the plug that faces the other plug, you can see how there's like grime and dirt on there. I don't usually worry about them too much because if you look at the socket, there's no metal on the inside, so it doesn't even matter if that part's clean really. But whenever the plug goes in, it grabs it on 3 sides, so you need at least those 3 sides clean. You also need to kind of clean the socket, so the way I do it is with just a wire brush. I go hard on it, get it as clean as you can. And you want a good connection there. So there's that. We adjusted the pop bumper switches. Nothing major there. It's kind of hard to even see it, but this switch here is the one that the pop bumper skirt hits. I don't know if I can get a good view of it. That's it there. I don't know if it'll focus when we zoom in or not. No, it won't. But basically you want to adjust it so that it's not connected. There you go. You can see it. But if you hit it from any angle, it connects together. We want that to be about as close as you can without it hitting accidentally. So if you get it where that thing's almost always touching, but there's just a little bit of light between it, it'll make your pop bumpers where they kick, or they pop, I should say. And then after that, moving right along, we worked on the 2 vary targets. And the reason I didn't film all this is because it's all just the same old stuff. You know, we do it on everything. And there's nothing, got a hair stuck in it. There's nothing special about this one. It's all just the same stuff. So these vary targets, depending on where they're positioned, there's 2 little wipers that touch that board. See them moving there? And you can see how they sit on 2 of the rivets. So watch when I move it, bam, now it's on 2 other rivets, bam, 2 other rivets, bam, and then here's the Mac Daddy rivets, the last rivets. So whenever you do that, what it does is it connects a wire to the wire on the other rivet through the 2 little wipers, right? And then it's got this switch that lets the machine know that it's not reset, it's not at the home position, it's off. And then whenever this pulls in, when the playfield's down, this should go back forward all the way to the front. It'll open that switch so that the game knows that it's all the way to the front. And that's that. And we also put a little synthetic grease on that to make it where it moves smooth. We replaced all the light bulbs, and everywhere there was a light bulb insert, we cleaned it. Now the way that I've been cleaning it lately, there's a million ways to do it. The way I've been cleaning it lately is you can clean it wet. You know, you can get it wet and clean it, but the problem is there's all kinds of dirt and stuff in there. So I've been taking a dry paintbrush, like this is like horsehair or fake horsehair, and you just put it in the thing, and by doing that you get all the dirt and dust out on the paintbrush. And then if it's clean, you just leave it, and if it isn't, then you can get it wet. You know, maybe use a little wet paper towel to clean the inside of it. But you want all of those clean because if there's any dirt on them, they'll show up through the playfield. Okay, so then we moved up here to the flippers. Now on these old ones, you usually get lucky and you don't have to spin much on them. But we haven't played it yet, so we don't know for sure. They still look like they're in great shape. So we replaced all the little nylon sleeves that go in them. See how dirty it is inside there? One of the reasons it's dirty like that is because somebody had went around and lubricated the plungers. You don't want to do that. You don't want grease on the plunger. You want it to be dry, it's going through nylon, so the nylon doesn't need lubrication on these. So I took them all apart. I replaced the nylon sleeves. It was very easy to do. It just pops out. And then I cleaned off the plungers, right? So the only other thing that you usually might have to replace is the coil stop if it's all messed up, or this plunger link. So this plunger here is metal, and this link is made out of like fiberboard. So if you look, what you want to see is if there's any play in the two holes. So there's a hole right here that attaches it to the plunger, and then there's a hole up here that attaches it to the pawl, this is called. Okay? And so if you look, let's see if I can do it with one hand here. Okay, so look, you're going to see a little bit of play. See that? Just a little bit of play. That's completely fine. You don't have to worry about that. A lot of times you'll get these though, and that damn thing will move like a 1/4 inch. You'll see it go because that hole is all elongated in the fiber link. If that's what's going on, you need to replace it. But on these where it's just a little tiny bit of play, it may have been like that new. Some of these older ones, you order new ones and they're exactly the same. They've got a little tiny bit of play in them. So that's not that big of a deal. And everything seems to be moving properly. This is a very clean machine, so like the Beatles used to talk about. It's probably not the same thing they were talking about though, but it's a very clean machine, and I don't think there's really all that much left. So now we're moving back to the back. We've got another set of Jones plugs that we have to clean. There's one little one here that came from the playfield that we've already cleaned and put back on. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing back here. Got to go through all these relays, clean up all 6 of the score reels. I've got another relay up here. Clean the rivets on this board and put some synthetic grease on it to make sure that it resets and moves like it should. You have to step up one time. Another thing, whenever you're testing these, people will do this. They'll go. See how it's staying on the same one? That's because you're behaving like a human. You're not behaving like a electromechanical pinball machine. If you ever watch one of these things run, they're violent as hell, right? So they don't move real slow like that. So if you move slow, it'll get hung. That's not how they move. They move real fast. The juice running through this makes this a magnet which pulls in the metal, so you get a real violent bam bam magnetic reaction. So it doesn't need to step up slowly, it needs to step up like that, you know? So we'll adjust that a little bit. The credit unit, there's a couple switches here. That's probably so dark you can't see. Maybe I'll lighten up this part of the video. There's a couple switches here that tell it if it's got credits or not. You can put a little jumper wire on those to make it think that it's always got credits, which essentially puts it on free play. And then we've also got a stepper unit here that plugs in with a couple Jones plugs. So I'll unplug that and clean all that. When I take this off, I'll film it a little bit and show you what those look like. They're neat little machines. So that's next. We're going to work through this stuff, get it cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll be ready to try it. So here is this little unit in the back. It might be for match or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the match unit. They have added a wire to it, which is very strange. So remember when I was showing down here that they had written in replay or 10,000 point bonus, whatever? Well, there is a wire added in over here, this green wire, that has been snaked through the harness and comes up to here and is soldered to this so that this can no longer be completely removed. And it looks like this orange and green wire that goes to the same place also would have prevented it from being completely removed. So I don't know. But anyway, they've added that wire to this. So I'm thinking maybe they did that as a way to be able to give you a free game. So the way these things work is there's this coil pulls in this plate like that, right? See how I just did it lightly and it didn't go? But if you do it violently, it goes. And the plate, this little pawl, pushes on this gear, which turns this gear, and you can see that switch there on top of it opens and closes with each turn. And then also as it does it, it turns the little wiper on the side, makes things contact, makes this wire connect to this wire, and then there's one on the other side too. So I think we've got that all working good. Now I've got to still clean the Jones plugs. So we'll clean those up and plug it back in. We've got it all back together, and now it's just time to try it, see if it works or if we need to start troubleshooting it. I was noticing that little thing that I said that the paper must have came off. I don't think so. I think they added the whole thing. If you look, the screws that hold it in are different than the screws that hold in the other ones. And it's only got 2 screws holding it in. 2 of them are missing. It's written on the thing. It has 3 wires going to it. One of the wires goes to this left side here and is this wire here that has clearly been added over to the K relay, whatever the K relay is. Okay, and then there is another little work they've done here. I showed you that green wire, but they took the wire, this orange with green wire that came off this Jones plug that ran up into this. Remember I was saying that, oh man, they made it where there's 2 wires which you can't disconnect it with. Why did they make it like that? They didn't. Originally this wire that has been cut and soldered over here would have ran up to connect with this wire. So they've hardwired it when it wouldn't have been like that. And they've done some stuff here. Whatever. I think it would have been completely removable because this wire would have just went to this one. It's the same wire. So they cut that wire, soldered one down here, and then put a green wire and ran it up and soldered both of them up here. So it has something to do with whenever that's at a certain place, it can either give you a replay or a 10,000 point bonus. So I don't know why they added that. I don't think that's factory. Some clever operator must have done it. Maybe it'll become more apparent whenever we play it. But I cleaned all the relays. There wasn't any problems on anything. Cleaned all 6 of the score reels. Didn't seem to be any problems on anything. Everything looks really clean. Everything looked cool. So we'll lay it back down, and just for giggles, we'll see if she'll start. And if she won't, we'll have to troubleshoot it a little bit. Okay, so when I plugged it in the wall, it started doing a bunch of stuff, and it reset all of our score relays. I turned it off. I just put a ball in the what I guess is the out lane, and we'll turn it on and see if it does anything. So we got some noise. Says tilt. Let's see if I can add a credit or anything. Press the start button. I got nothing. It says we have 11 credits. It says press right button to shoot ball. The start button would start it, I would suppose. Got a little, if I can reach in here to this relay and not get shocked. Alright, so we got some stuff going on. Alright, well, I'll have to, we'll have to check out the schematics and see if we can figure out what in the world is happening, because I can't get it to try to start up. You hit the button, nothing's happening, even though it appears we've got credits. So let's pop it open and see what we got. So all that noise is this, which I think is the game over relay or something, or the tilt relay maybe. The AB relay. Okay, and so no matter what, the AB relay is pulling in. Whew. Annoyingly loud. Okay, so the AB relay has given us some trouble, so let's figure out what that is. And that's enough for this video, folks. We've got it at least up and where the lights are turning on. So in the next video, we'll fix it. We'll get the schematics and we'll see why it's doing what it do. Maybe we can get that A-B relay to turn the crap off and stop buzzing. But you'll have to wait till next time to see. Leave your comments below what you think so far. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film this for you, and we will see you on the next video.